This is going to be the greatest G.I. Joe movie ever because, and look, I can humbly say that because I'm in it, number one. Number two, well, because I'm in it. And number three, there's a really badass bald guy who I had to call, and his name happens to be Bruce Willis. It meant the world to me to be part of this franchise. Legendary franchise. Epic, you know, we hear those words all the time, legendary and epic and amazing, things like that, but that's what G.I. Joe is, and I gotta tell you, I'm not just saying it because, I'm a little biased, obviously, because I'm in the movie, but I'm not just saying it because it's our movie, I'm saying it because there's a deep-rooted connection. When I was a kid, when I was 8, 9 years old, I loved G.I. Joe. I loved G.I. Joe and Star Wars. Those were my two. That was it. And I was a kid in a candy store with all the massive collection that I had. So I like a lot of kids, played out the fantasies in my head of being these heroes, by the way. And the fact that I get a call about 1.5 years ago from the studio, Adam Goodman says, hey buddy, I got an idea for you. We got an idea for you. What do you think of this? How do you feel about becoming G.I. Joes? How do you feel about becoming a leader of G.I. Joes? This was my reaction, by the way, on the phone. I started laughing because I thought it was so cool. So to wrap the answer all up, it's an honor and it's a privilege, and I had a blast, and I can't wait for the world to see it. I play a character called Roadblock. Unique in the fact that he in the G.I. Joe mythology, he is the G.I. Joe he's the glue that kept all the Joes together. And, but never interested in being in the spotlight. Was best friends with Duke Hauser, played by Channing Tatum, and very comfortable with Duke being in the spotlight. But Roadblock, was fine being in the shadows, being the glue, galvanizing the men and the women, making sure that, you know, the missions were a success. But oftentimes, like in life, when we have challenging times and trying times, oftentimes leaders emerge. And in this case, Roadblock, as a leader, emerges to the forefront through very challenging times in this movie. I love working with Channing. Channing is first of all, he's a great guy. And in our business, like in any business, when somebody is great and they're great to be around and they're fun and they're effervescent and they're positive and optimistic, you want to be around them. And you want to work with them. Channing was great. Channing embodies Duke. He is the man when it comes to Duke of the G.I. Joes. And again, growing up with G.I. Joes, I have a great love and affinity for the mythology of G.I. Joe. So Channing in that role, fantastic. Our chemistry jumps off the screen. We had a lot of fun together, and now I could give him a bunch of because he's the world's most sexiest man. The mission right now is to find out who actually is behind basically the majority of the Joes being completely wiped out. And Cobra Force basically taking over the world. So that is the mission. Without giving too much of the movie away, that is the mission. And we go on a mission in a very strong way. The special gun I have the great privilege of using is a Ma Deuce. It's a massive weapon. From what I was told, it's the biggest weapon ever held on screen by an individual, which a lot of fun. If we're gonna break a record, we can break that one too. But by the way, I had a lot of fun driving a His tank. His tank is the world's fastest tank. So one of the great things that makes, in my opinion, G.I. Joe unique is that you have two worlds essentially, and they are infused and they combine very powerfully in the fact that you have boots to the ground soldiering real men and women. And that transcends every culture. Then you have this fantastical side and this fantastical element of ninjas who are scaling the Himalayas and doing these amazing things where you have to suspend your disbelief beyond. And so you have that delicate balance of two worlds that come together in this amazing way. So, so for me, by the way, having a lot of love for the mythology of G.I. Joe, you can imagine what it was like when I was in a scene and I look over and in the scene is Snake Eyes. This Snake Eyes who I thought I was when I was a kid, and we're making him come to life now in this movie is awesome. Adrienne Palicki did great as the only girl on set. Well, there were a couple, her and Elodie, who plays Jinx. Adrienne did great on set, and that's a tough set. A lot of testosterone around, but she holds her own, which is why she's actually perfect for Lady J. John Chu, as a director, brought a powerful affinity and respect to the mythology, because like me, when John, who's always been inspired to tell stories as a director, even as a little kid, would tell his stories through his G.I. Joes. And so for him, it's always something special, I think, when an actor or director, writer, producer, anyone gets their hands on a piece of material that they have a deep-rooted connection with. And in this case, with John Chu, he got his hands on this material. He was hungry as a director, and he also recognized, I've got this massive brand and this massive franchise, and we get one shot to make it right. And he goes, I'm gonna grab this sucker by the throat and I ain't letting it go. I think what appealed most to all our international audiences around the world is that it's a big, fun movie. And even if you grew up loving G.I. Joe, the mythology of G.I. Joe, or the Action Man series, as it spawned off into throughout Europe, whether you're familiar with it or not, you still can enjoy the movie. And it's a lot of fun, bottom line.